Hello, Cardinal fans, and welcome to this bonus edition of Cardinals Nation 24/7, where the Cardinals have just announced the re-signing officially of Cardinals All-Star catcher Yadier Molina. Chris, we knew this was coming up, and they told us they were going to get it done, but you're always a little nervous until you see it being finalized. And they said sometime after the Caribbean Series on the 6th, and here we are on the eve of the 8th, and the deal has been done. What are your thoughts? Did you know it was going to be done all along, or were you a little skeptical until you see it on the dotted line yourself?
Well, I think, you obviously get a little, skeptical, but all along I figured him and Wainwright would come back. I was a little torn on whether or not the Cardinals would offer more than a year deal. It didn't seem like too many teams were out there that were throwing anything more at Molina. I know the recent report was that the Blue Jays were kind of pushing hard to get him, but to bring him back on a 1 year and it's a $9 million deal, I'm glad to see it. And, I'm a little surprised. I know some people were joking around that Molina's going to announce that he's coming back at halftime of the Super Bowl, to get some attention on. But no, it's good stuff. And I figured it would happen, but I think this is probably one of the last moves that Zalek makes for this offseason.
I would think so too. They keep talking about how the Cardinals are involved in a lot of different things, but I don't really see them spending too much more money. They've improved the team tremendously, and people were afraid that Wino and Molina might not come back, but they did make it back, and then we did the big trade, obviously. So everyone knows for Arenado, and we freed up some outfield playing time for our young stars by trading away Dexter Fowler. And when it's all said and done, we're probably not going to save much money, maybe $1 million, depending if we take a player back or cash later. Maybe it could be a couple million, but not much in the whole scheme of things, considering there's not going to be a lot of fans in attendance this year. But like you said, everybody was torn, thinking maybe 2 years. But the deal ended up being for $9 million, which is a little less than he was slotted. A lot of the sites, even with COVID, had him projected to do a 1 year, $10 million contract. But you have to think also, Chris, 1 year, $9 million. If the Cardinals produce like everyone thinks and they have a good, solid team with Arenado and Goldschmidt and everyone else, maybe if he decides to play another year, he will be back. Or now this kind of further cements it and says, if the Cardinals don't do too well, or either way, he might just walk away. Maybe not so much be looking to sign with another team when he's turning 40. So either way, I think maybe this deal makes him a Cardinal until he's finished playing, regardless if it's this year or next. What say you?
No, I agree with that. I know a lot of our fans in our Facebook group. You get the mixed bag between the ones that are, for nostalgia reasons, and I'll throw myself into that category, that Molina means more to the team than just what you see on paper. And everybody sees his age and knows that he's not the player that he used to be. But I don't think we're necessarily overpaying here.
Right.
In a way, you look at what Wong just got from Milwaukee and you think, well, if he got a couple years at $9 million, and he's a lot younger, but
right,
you're looking at a legend here that the Cardinals couldn't afford, in my opinion, to let that legacy get a little tainted by going to another team. I don't know what, like I said, you just can't put a price tag on what he means to the team outside of just the numbers. And with it being a 1 year deal, him and Wainwright could go out together on a high note. It also, last year, with it being a COVID season and no fans in the stands, you'd hated to see either one of those guys go out with not getting the warm reception from fans. So I'm glad to see it.
It would have been a shame. At least this year, even towards the end of the year, they're going to have more fans in the stands than starting. So Molina will turn 39 in July, on July 13th. And just looking at what he has done on paper, I made some notes too here, Chris. He was drafted in 2000 by the Cardinals in the 4th round of the draft. He did make his debut in 2004, which everyone remembers that as him and Matheny shared a lot of time, and with Matheny kind of taking majority of the starts and then kind of using Molina as a backup, and he played a little more as the season went on, but it was still Matheny in the playoffs. And kind of, I think we'll see a lot of that same transition, I think, this year with Kinsler. I think Yachty will still play a lot, but Kinsler will be on the team as the primary backup, I think, and especially in some of these double headers and stuff, you'll see him a little more. That's my take. And then if he's around next year, who knows? The Cardinals are limited on 40-man space. And speaking of what does this do for the rest of the roster, what about that last spot, Chris? You think with expanded rosters, which we're probably going to have for COVID reasons, or like last year, they were mandating a third catcher. Who do you see that third catcher? Do you see it being someone in the minor leagues? We do have a little bit of depth. Or you think they're just going to go out and get someone on a minor league deal with an invite to spring training, and that's probably who's going to make the team? I don't see them signing a Wieters per se because of the amount of money in the short season, but someone that as a third option, I could definitely see them offering someone like a minor league deal to invite, and they making the team on a minimum deal. What are your thoughts if they carry three catchers per the expanded roster guidelines from last? Assuming they go for last year, who is that catcher? Is it Wieters? And I'm kind of going off topic, but we know Kinsler's not going to play much, and he's going to be the primary backup if Molina gets hurt. But they're going to want a catcher to pinch hit, etc. Or maybe that is Kinsler. Maybe Kinsler does use the bat a little more this year, and they have someone else, backing Molina up in case of emergency per se, because that person's probably not going to play much. Where do you see that spot coming from?
It's hard to say with that, but it's probably, I know they've got a couple guys down in the minors that are on, just a short minor league type of contract. And if they bring somebody in, it'll probably be somebody of that caliber. I don't see bringing back a Matt Wieters type of player. Of course, you're going to want Kisner to get more reps than, what a Wieters did even last season. And you go out and pay a guy, a couple $1 million. And I know a lot of people did like that he provided a little bit of pop in his bat, but at the end of the day, his average wasn't that great. I know he didn't get much playing time, but I think for as many days as they're going to play, Kisner should get that spot. And as far as a third catcher, I mean, the Cardinals, I think more than that, need like a utility infielder signing than a third catcher. But I'm not sure if that'll be something they bring on this season or not.
Well, the expanded rosters, they required of those extended players, one had to be a catcher.
Oh, okay.
So that was my question to you: is like, where do you see that internal, or you see that like a 1 year minor league deal, invite to spring training, get a major league deal on a minimum? I don't see it being any of our catching depth because we do have some guys down low, but I don't see them coming up to do nothing. They're going to be starting every day in Double A and Triple A, not because that person would probably be just on the pine, and I think you would see Kinsler take more of a Wieters role as a pinch hit because he is better with his bat.
Yeah.
So they might just go ahead and get somebody.
Yeah, they could. And if that's the case, then it'll probably be just, some basically third string catcher. It's not going to be anything that any fan's going to get too excited about.
Right. Well, going back to the numbers, because, a lot of people complain about Yadi's offensive numbers, but he's 281 career average, 160 home runs, and 2,025 plate appearances for his career. That's nothing to that's nothing short. 281 is an above plus batting average currently now for his career. And as we seem to forget, he was not good with his bat, when he first started his career. He was strictly defensively. That's why Matheny was still playing, because Matheny was known as a better hitter than Molina. And Molina's bat didn't come along till much later on, working with Albert and things of that nature. And he's been, even though his batting average has not been high, and I think last year it was 262 was his batting average last year, but he was still clutch. Yadi's still the kind of guy that you want with the game on the line. Even if his batting average is 200, if we're playing the Padres in the playoffs and we got a guy on second and third with 2 outs, I'm going to tell you, I probably want Yadier Molina batting. It would be a toss-up between him and Goldie and Arenado. Which one of the three, I wouldn't care. Yadi's just always been clutch. He grinds out those at-bats when need be, and he's so baseball smart. As you hear a lot of announcers saying by that, it's just how he's able to steal bases, and he's probably the slowest guy on the team. He's very aware of what's going on around him with players, positioning, the pitcher's timing to the plate, the catcher's ability to snap the throw down to second base, etc. He's just a smart baseball guy, and that's why it's also good to have him on the team. To say his offense, is the reason for a contract is not fair to Yadi. He still threw out an amazing 45% of would be base stealers last year. That's crazy. That's almost half. Even when he's had good numbers, they've been in their 30s. Catchers look to be in their 20s. He threw out almost half.
Yeah.
And you and I touched on this on an earlier podcast, Chris. That having that ability to do that, just so many things, just like you said a second ago, so many things Molina does for the team, and that people don't notice that you can put tremendous value on, just like holding those base runners. Does another team, people were stealing a lot more bases. So those could be potentially more runs. Just the way he is behind the plate at framing and calling a game and handling some of these pitchers. They call it catcher's ERA. The way he's able to take control of the game and slow things down and go out and talk to a guy like Carlos Martinez. He knows what to say and get in his head and calm him down and get him to focus on what's going on the field. That kind of stuff we can't put a value on. And now you look at the infield, I don't think it gets much better, even with subtraction of Wong, with Arenado at third, Goldschmidt at first. You got Yadi behind the plate. We by far have the best, defensive infield, I think, in baseball. And DeYoung is no slouch. And the good thing I think is going to make DeYoung better, and I don't want to get off track of Yadi because that's our main focus, but it's a whole thing like a player like Yadier Molina does, right? It makes us guys like you and I to pay close attention and read all these articles. We're not experts, but I happen to think we're not tooting our own horn, but we're fairly close. We read all the official articles. We look into the numbers. You even read the unofficial articles done by the freelance guys. I mean, all that's knowledge that you take in so you can make somewhat of an educated guess or an opinion. But just having someone like Yadi is going to help someone like DeYoung because him and Arenado are going to work well together. DeYoung doesn't have to play as much of a huge shortstop gap because he's going to have somebody like an Arenado on his side, so he doesn't have to cover that deep end of third. You've got Yadi watching. Yadi always loves to do the pickoff throws, right, to first base when he had Albert. He's done it a couple of times with Goldschmidt in the short time we've had him. Don't think that he's not going to be trying to do that with Arenado. When he's got a guy trying to get a couple of extra feet off third base, he's going to snap some throw. It's going to make for a more exciting game, too. I mean, just having Yadi makes things entertaining, exciting. I mean, and I didn't want to just jump off of that, but aside from offense, he's a 9-time All-Star, which means, that's not just his defensive numbers. But going back to the infield, and I want to get your take on what you think on how it improves the team. But he's a 9-time Gold Glover, a 4-time Platinum Glove. Who else has 4 Platinum Gloves? Nolan Arenado. Nobody else is close. And I think those are the only guys that have won it since his inception is Molina and Arenado. I'll have to check the numbers, but they haven't done that for very long. So they might all belong in the Cardinals infield. How does Yadi, in your mind, just affect the whole team away from offense? I mean, he makes us better. I know we've talked about this, but what are your thoughts?
Well, offensively, I mean, nobody sees a pitch better than Molina. So I think that's a lot of why he comes up with a lot of clutch hits is he's just got an eye for it. And, defensively, I know he's kind of taking a step back, from the catcher that he used to be. But you're right, he does have that leadership role when a pitcher is struggling. That I'm not going to sit here and say that I know for sure if Kisner was our catcher this season, that he couldn't go out and calm some guys down or get the best out of them. But we know Molina can do that. He's great at doing that. And I really think with Kisner getting, like he's been around Molina, but getting a full season as a backup and seeing how he operates on a day-to-day basis in the majors is only going to make it for better too. And, that, being a mentor like that, I mean, he doesn't necessarily have to be that for a Goldschmidt or an Arenado because those guys are gamers, but it doesn't hurt to have those baseball savvy minds that they're all, top tier when it comes to knowing the game of baseball in and out. And when you have that as your leader and you've got a young pitching staff to work with and a young catcher that's, kind of looking at you as your mentor, that's saying a lot. So I think, Molina coming back it makes everybody better.
I agree. Just his work ethic and the way he goes about it. He's one of the most dedicated and hardest working guys out there. You can't tell me that these young guys like a Kinsler or someone else is going to come up and be sitting in the locker room while Yadi's out there hitting in the cage and taking ground balls and doing other things to make the team better. And to get another guy like Arenado, it's just going to elevate the whole team. And Yadi's definitely, clubhouse leader, has that presence. And I just love what he does with the pitching staff. Some of these guys, like even a Flaherty and even Waino, those guys know that they can trust Molina. They're going to listen to him. He controls the tempo of the game. He does a ton of research on the opposing batters on how to pitch him and how to different approach to these guys. In controlling the guys, like we said, like Carlos and like even like an Alex Reyes that can let his emotions get to him. Sometimes Yachty can handle those guys and get them under control. So it's exciting. You know, we knew it was probably going to happen, but we were a little nervous, and now it has happened. So let me come back to you. I know he's been playing, and we're going to be reporting for spring training here soon. Where do you slot Yadier Molina in your lineup now with the Arenado factor and so forth? Do you still see him as a guaranteed 5 guy, or you slot him down? What do you think? What are your thoughts on where Molina hits?
I mean, a lot of that, and that's nothing against Molina, but just knowing how slow he is on the bases, and having a guy in front of him, you don't want him to hit into too many double plays. I mean, he does have an eye for contact and he's a good hitter. I Going fifth is a little high for me. I don't think I would necessarily put him right at the bottom of the order, but he'd be more close to the bottom than he would in the 5 spot. And that's just because I want to see the team generate runs and possibly somebody like a Tyler O'Neill that struggled with a batting average to have that kind of a pop or something, or DeYoung, maybe whoever's hot at the time takes that 5th spot. But at this point in Molina's career, I think lower in the lineup is where I'd feel most comfortable.
Mm. Yeah, and some of these guys, it's crazy too. I agree with you in putting him lower and less pressure. I'd like to see somebody like DeYoung in the 5th spot. You know, DeYoung's got some pop, and Arenado and Goldie taking some stress off of him. And then if you have, say, an O'Neill, or even you slot Yachty, maybe you slot Yachty 6, O'Neill 7, somewhere around there. You put those guys with, we still figure the pitcher's batting 9th, right? So you probably figure Bader's going to be hitting 8th. Now that Fowler's gone, you know, Bader's probably going to be your everyday center fielder with Carlson or right. So I'm assuming Bader's going to be 8, but it'd be nice to see. And then, you know, because a lot of Molina is still, even if he has a down year, a lot of these guys, these opposing pitchers too, know him, and he does research on them. He it does have an ability to get in people's head. You know, Yachty comes up, he's clutch. You know, he's not going to hit a home run, but he's good about making things happen. And what do the announcers always say? Put the ball in play and make the defense finish the player, but put the ball in play and see what happens. Yeah. So, and a lot of times that does, you know, make a difference. You know, we see Yachty throw the bat at the ball. If it's just, you know, if it's on the corner and he thinks it's going to be a strike, he's always trying to make something happen. And then again, you have, you know, DeYoung hitting after somebody like Arenado or Goldie, and you've got Molina behind him. You have to think somebody like Paul's going to get more pitches to hit, or at least more in his wheelhouse that he can potentially put out in the seats, which we all know he's capable of and would like to see again. I just think, you know, having a guy like this, even though he's going to be 39, he just changes the whole dynamic for your pitching staff. Opposing teams' offense with base runners and even them getting on base, just his baseball smarts and skills, and then him in the batting order, the way he just never gives up. He never, you know, mills in and at bat.
Yeah,
I think it helps the team greatly, and it takes a lot of pressure off guys like Mike Schultz, and you know, and the pitching staff, the rest of the pitching staff as well, because they can feel confident that the game's going to be called properly.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see not just Wainwright come back, but to see another year of that battery. You know, I mean, just they're climbing the ranks on all-time battery list, and that's just something that I know they're not necessarily a package deal to some people, but you know, a lot of our fans do take that for granted, that even though they're older and they're not who they used to be, they're fun to watch. You know, they act a lot younger than what they are, you know, off the field for sure. But, you know, classy ball players that, you know, just have high praise across the majors. And, you know, we've got to witness it this will be Molina's 18th season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's
it's crazy. That's unheard of. And you got to think he was drafted by the Cardinals in 2000. So he's been a member of the Cardinals organization for 21 years.
Yeah.
That's unheard of, especially those two guys pitching together. Like you said, they kind of go hand in hand together, almost kind of like, even maybe more so. You know, people always think Bob Gibson, but it was always Bob Gibson and Tim McCarver, right? Now you've got Yachty and Molina have definitely taken that for all of Major League Baseball. Nobody else has been together that long. I mean, you kind of had the connection where you had, what was it, John Lester and I know it's David Ross. I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah.
David Ross was John Lester's guy for a while. Well, Molina has always been Wayno's guy. And I think people see them together ever since the 2006 playoffs. That final curveball pitch, and then when they got Beltran out, I think people started. That's when everyone, all the highlights you start seeing, and you start going that far back. You're thinking, man, those guys have been pitching together for a long time. They've been pitching in the majors together consistently, since '06, but they started in '04. So it's kind of like you said, that's a long time, and it's pretty amazing if you think about it. It probably won't be duplicated again with today's day and age and contracts and everything else. So
Right.
everybody's seeing it. Yeah.
A lot of fans back in the day, it was like when they hear "That's a Winner," they think Jack Buck, and the voice of "That's a Winner." But for these younger fans, especially on the internet and seeing memes that get posted, and you see all these Cardinals "That's a Winner," and you almost like in your mind picture the Wainwright and Molina hug, after a game. It's just like that's the visual that you get. So yeah, we've definitely been spoiled with two greats, and Molina coming back is it's awesome.
It's definitely a bonus for Cardinals fans, and I think sometimes we take it for granted, don't realize how lucky we are, especially to see great players like this. Molina, he was probably going to be a Hall of Famer already. This just cements his career as a Hall of Famer, growing in as a Cardinal. I think building your stats on one team, especially at this point in his career, is good for him, and he might go for another year or so. Who knows? We'll see how this year goes. And I think if him and Wayno have a good year, I wouldn't be opposed if they get offered another one. But if the team has a good year, I wouldn't be surprised if they say, you know what, we've had a good run. We're going to close it out on a high note. But the Cardinals have always been competitive and found ways for us to win. We have two great catching prospects behind him. With Kinsler, he's kind of going down, but we've got guys at third base. We're going to have Arenado and Goldie for a long time. I don't see Arenado opting out. Not anytime soon. We got a lot of good talent and a lot of good pitchers in the pipeline. So they always find a way to be competitive, and they've continued to do so and kept guys like Wainwright and Molina on the roster because that's what Cardinal fans wanted. And here again, they gave us something else to keep us happy. Fans wanted to see Molina and Wayno back on the team, and I would say a lot of people wanted to see it more than getting anyone else. So it'll be a good treat for us. So hopefully people will have the chance to make it to one of the games this year to see them two pitch to work together. So what do you think now, Chris? You think the Cardinals are done? We've got our catcher. We signed another pitcher that we didn't need. We got our third baseman. We traded Fowler away to make room in a crowded outfield. What do you think? We've got some 40-man spots. Do you see anyone on the minor league roster taking that up or doing another signing to join Molina, or do you think we're going to stand pat?
It's one of those things where there's still some reports out there that the Cardinals may have interest in an Odorizzi or a pitcher, and I've kind of talked about it that I do think we've got enough young arms right now that could fill those spots. Even if a guy goes down with injury, we just have so many young arms that can. Now, I wouldn't be opposed to someone like an Odorizzi just in case. I mean, I think that really does solidify your starting rotation.
Sure.
But looking at the free agent list of what's available right now, there's not really too many names that are exciting out there. I kind of recorded on my solo show, Cardinal Cuts, that one name in particular that I liked that is not a fan favorite in St. Louis is Yasiel Puig. And I'm not saying that he's be a perfect fit in St. Louis and would be more deserving of a spot than some of the younger guys out there, but he is a gamer, and maybe with Molina now a Cardinal again, he might be able to be in his ear and calm him down a little bit. So, but outside of that, there's really not much other than maybe a utility player that I could see the Cardinals bringing in that makes much sense.
It's a good segue too. So it's a great time for me to do a commercial. If you want to hear Chris's podcast, Cardinal Cuts with Chris Lawless, you can find it on Anchor, Spotify, Stitcher, and soon to be Apple Podcasts. But I actually listen to it too. It's a great quick listen with some good insight where he takes a lot of fan questions as well. So if you like what we do here and like the Facebook page and group, definitely check it out. It's a good quick little show with some good insight, and I thought it was done really well. I enjoyed the first episode, and I'm ready for number 2.
I appreciate that. I think I'm going to do it, once a week. Just kind of throw some post out there on Facebook and on Twitter and get some people to toss some questions my way. Just anything Cardinal related that I can kind of do a little quick 10-minute, audio podcast and interact with fans on a different level than just commenting back and forth. But I think you two have something in the works, as a side project as well.
Do a side project. It's a real unique name. It's called Redbirds with Red Wine, and I'm going to try to keep a strong focus. Obviously, we're going to be talking about all the current happenings, so I'm going to try to keep that focus on more of the minor league system. Since the Redbirds name rhymes with my name, it was easy. The guys from Memphis, Springfield, something to kind of keep track of those guys, where they're at, coming from. Because Cardinals Nation 24/7 is kind of like, we want to do the podcast kind of how we're doing the Facebook page, right? We kind of branch out what we're trying to cover everything, but we don't want this show here. Our Cardinals Nation 24/7 is our flagship here, and you can on our YouTube channel. But then you're going to have your Cardinal Cuts, which is kind of like fan questions and going behind the scenes, like a lot of what if type scenarios, that kind of stuff. Things people would like to see happen. Get creative. It's kind of like a chatting box, or sending in your questions, which I kind of like that take on it. It creates interaction, and it's not talking about batting averages and stuff. Not it's just kind of off the cuff, which I did like. And then if we backpedal to the one I'm going to do, it's going to be more focused on minor leaguers. So we're not repeating ourselves. We're not trying to drown people out with information. And by all means, we want you to enjoy this one. And if you want to hear about the minor leagues or hear some what if scenarios and some more insight, or have more questions you want to ask yourself, Cardinal Cuts with Chris Lawless is a good one. So it's kind of different. We're not saying we want you to watch, give us all your time. If you want to, we appreciate you. But if you don't want to, then it's not a big deal. We have busy schedules too, but it's kind of things that are kind of passionate to us. So it's kind of like I said with mine, I'm not going to do it on YouTube, but if people want to go listen to it and like it on a regular basis, or tell a couple people, I'm not going to be offended. I'm kind of doing it more for myself because I enjoy it, not really to get reach. This is more for our reach and trying to get this out here because we want to do some interactive stuff with you guys, the fans of the Facebook page and group, because we want to be able to do some cool giveaways, maybe work our way up to tickets and stuff like that. So the more audience we have, obviously it's no secret, and we're not trying to play dumb with you guys, and we're not trying to make money off of it, but we want to make money to where we can do cool things and put it back into the podcast for production. Or if we say, hey, we do want to give away a set of tickets, have we made any money off running ads to do that, to where we can send someone to a game? That's the kind of stuff we want to get into, to put it back to the fans and get everyone more involved with the Cardinals. This is not looking at this to be a job for us, because it's not. We're not that good at it, but just something for fun and something so other people can enjoy it, and we can kind of throw some things back out there. And back onto that, I don't want to keep going too long. We wanted to keep this short as a bonus episode, but catch us. I would say probably on Thursday, Friday at the latest. I'd probably say Thursday. Catch us on our regular time. We're going to try to release on Thursdays. We got it's going to be part of our 2021 season, but it's a special episode. We wanted to go back and recap the careers of Bob Gibson and Lou Brock, two amazing, legendary baseball players that had amazing careers. And once we go over their numbers again, every time I look at that, I'm blown away. I know you are too, Chris, but we're gonna jump in on that, and we're gonna have that on Thursday as part of our same YouTube channel, same YouTube time type thing. And if you guys have questions about either one of the legends, or have any memories you want to share, feel free to drop so in the comments or send it to the Facebook page. Chris pretty much has eyes everywhere. His little birds are everywhere. He sees and hears everything. So we're going to focus on that. Chris, you looking forward to the legendary podcast?
Oh, definitely. Those are two of the all-time greats, and even though they were a little before our time getting to watch them play, they're more than just myths to us. They are the legends that we got to see wearing the red jackets on opening day, and they're definitely missed by Cardinal fans all over the country.
Two amazing careers and two amazing individuals, and we wanted to make sure we backpedaled and talked about them before we jumped into the season, because we know we're going to be busy and people are going to have questions, want to know what's going on with this team and that team. So we wanted, before spring training gets into full swing, we wanted to make sure that we paid our respects and proper tribute to those individuals. But again, in closing, Yadier Molina back with the St. Louis Cardinals, 1 year, $9 million. So our legendary Cardinals Hall of Fame catcher is not going anywhere in the near future, hopefully never. But we've got our man back along with Adam Wainwright, the trading away of Dexter Fowler, and then the addition by trade, if you can call it a trade, the stealing of Nolan Arenado from the Colorado Rockies. And so that'll do it for me on this bonus episode. Chris, you have anything you want to add? Take us out.
I just want to thank everybody that has been very supportive since we've started this Cardinal Station 24/7 podcast. I know we've got over 150 subscribers in just a short time, and a lot of great feedback with some comments that, are just so nice that everybody's putting some kind words our way and, sharing their time with giving us a chance to talk Cardinal baseball with them. So, and we do appreciate that. We hope everybody does like and subscribe and share these videos out and tell a friend. So we appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Okay, everybody. We'll see you this week on Thursday, and go Cards.
Go Cards.